Welcome back to the MPC Show on Voyager Television. Today, we are doing a very simple lesson on note repeat. Here are 4 ways to use note repeat on the MPC sample, one of which you probably are very aware of, but I'm willing to bet the other 3 ways that I'm going to be engaging with this simple button right here on the MPC sample hardware, I bet you haven't used it like I use it. So let's make a new beat by holding shift and hitting pad 16. We have a new project already loaded up, so we can load project where we're not loading a project. We're going to load a kit. That is how you load drum kits on the MPC sample. For my beginners out there, holding shift, hitting pad 16, going into load project, and hitting the kits button will allow you to load up an entire drum kit on the MPC sample. Maybe you're a beginner, maybe you didn't know that. Maybe you do. Let's run this. Shout outs to MSX2, the good folks behind Fly Tape and Dirt. Lo-fi dirt. Browsing the kit there, just to make sure I want to use it, just to make sure I haven't used it. Always a good idea to do that. I recommend that for my students. So, note repeat. It's a very simple button. Take a good look at it. Let's take a really good look at it. Note repeat has 2 functions off top. You can see that there is a secondary function for note repeat as triplet. Have you ever engaged the triplet button? Well, we're going to be doing that today, but before we do that, let's use note repeat and let's talk about why you might want to use note repeat. Well, off top, this note right here, this pad, this sample is a great pad to engage note repeat with. Most people use note repeat like the following. They'll hold the button and they will hold the pad, right? By default, we're loaded up on 16th notes. A little much. Let's see what 8th note sounds like. Might be able to use that. Now, is that the right part of the sample that we want to use? Let's make sure that, because there's a little bit of sound there. You see that? Now, what did I do there and why did I do that? Well, a tip for the beginners out there. You might not necessarily want to use the entire sample, right? Don't sleep on the trim button here, which is naturally engaged by default on the MPC sample. But if we turn the K1 knob, we can access different parts of the wave transient, otherwise known as the sound or the sample. The other day somebody got mad at me because I was saying something on here a bit too scientific. Well, that's too bad. Go watch another channel, you jackass. Okay, so back to the audio here. Notice there are 3 waveform kind of moments that happen here on this wave. It's the first one. This hat really has 3 different sounds on it. See, you got boom, 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 doom, doom, doom. So you can get 3 sounds out of this. And if we're engaging the note repeat in the first place, notice, look, we're not even getting to the juice that I like out of this sample in the first place. Therefore, let's trim it. to the part that I like, which is right here. Now when we hold note repeat, you see, I like that. So if we go into our sequence mode, beginners, remember, sequence mode by default is always going to have 9 times out of 10 at least one pad highlighted. One pad is highlighted in a neon green color because there's information there. Don't allow that information to influence your groove. Remember the groove that you wanted to start when you turned on your machine. So let's go ahead and delete it. Notice when I hit this pad, it says 87 BPM, but when I hit this pad, it jumps up to 128 BPM. Well, that's because by default, MXS2 suggests that this drum pad should be, this drum kit should be at 87 BPM. That doesn't mean you have to do it. Once again, delete it. Just hold the erase button and hit pad number 1 to clear it. So now we have a default tempo of 128. Let's go ahead and set a global tempo by hitting that middle button there. Notice by default it is on a sequence-based tempo, which means every sequence will have its own tempo. But if we hit this button here, we have a global tempo now. So every sequence that we create from here on out is going to have this tempo, which probably is going to be like at around the 90s. I kind of feel like a little upbeat groove today. We're going to do 96 BPM. And notice when we come back over here, now we hold note repeat. Mind you, we are in sequence mode still. Did you know you can access your sounds in sequence mode when there is no playback? How do you do that, Dame? Well, you just hit this button right here. Take a good look at that button. It's sequence record. But notice when you hit sequence record and you don't have playback, the buttons, the pads change colors. I'm going to demonstrate that one more time. So watch, I'm going to hit sequence record. Now all the pads are green, right? I'm going to hit it one more time. Now all the pads are blue. The blue pads represent all of the pads that have samples on them. The yellow pad represents the last pad that you have selected. So, as I mentioned, we wanted playback in sequence mode. If we hold note repeat now, and if we hit this pad 3, we hear what we're getting. Jamie, give me some volume. Okay. Now, frankly, that's that last part of the wave there, right? So there's two things that we can do here to this sample to make it efficient. We can hold the shift button and normalize it, but before we even do that, you know what I want to do? I want to trim the sample. Bring your eyes to this button right here, and that is pad 13. I keep saying button today. Underneath pad 13, we have a function known as trim sample. Let's go ahead and trim sample by holding shift and pressing pad 13. Dame, how do you trim a sample? How do you get rid of the information that you don't want to save your precious memory? I would recommend Padawan. You hold shift and you press pad 13 and you trim it. So now we only got what we need. And on top of that, we're going to normalize that. Dame, how do you normalize the sample? If you hold shift and if you press that middle button, you can normalize your sample. Notice the waveform got a lot louder there. The wave transient got louder. And that was a shout out to the hate there. I'm going to trim this just a little bit more. You notice there, there's a bit hesitation there, which will give it, you know, a bit of swing, but I don't really want that swing. I want it right on the money because we're going to be doing some note repeat. So I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to zoom in on the waveform here to get a better look by turning the K1 knob and holding shift at the same time. I can get a closer look at the sample. Now, when I go to trim the sample, I can precisely get exactly where I want to get. Now if I want to, I can trim that again by holding shift and hitting pad 13. Why would you want to trim samples? Because you need as much memory as you can on this standalone unit. There's nothing plugged in here. There's no hard drives. There's just a microphone hiding in the back. That's just for you. Let's keep going. Let's hold note repeat. And let's record. Sequence record, play. And we need some metronome. So let's hold shift and let's hit the tap tempo button to bring our metronome in. Metronome is on. Metronome is on record mode only. And the information that we put in there can be deleted by just really undoing, but notice we're undoing the metronome adjustments that we made there. So we have to press that 3 times in order to undo the record events there. Now we have to go back and turn the metronome on to record mode again. Press sequence record, engaging note repeat before we press play. Now everybody knows how to use note repeat like this, so let's keep moving. And so that's the basic way of using note repeat, okay? Now, most people when they use note repeat, they hold the pad and they don't think about velocity. What do I mean by velocity? Well, if we go through our playback here, and if we open up our pad effects to demonstrate velocity here, how are we going to demonstrate this? Well, pay close attention to the bottom of the screen here on the GUI. That's why they got mad. Yes, it's a GUI. It's a graphical user interface. Don't get mad about these words, Padawan. Don't get mad. Notice, look, this lo-fi button, the effect changes based on how hard I am holding onto the pad. That is velocity. Notice the color of the pad also changes based on how much pressure I am applying to the pad. That is velocity. Velocity is a very important idea when using Akai Professional MPC hardware, or what do you want to call it? Anything, you know, even the Akai Force is very much velocity pending, right? How hard you press the hardware does matter. So, that being said, let's think about the next, level 2 way of using your note repeat. And it's slightly a beginner aspect, but once again, it's really based on how hard we press the pad when engaging note repeat. Mind you, you hear that? More pressure, louder, louder, louder. So how does one apply that in the recording? Let's listen. Let's just play. Let's just have a little fun for right now and see how we could engage that. So you can have like some phantom. Almost like ghost notes of the kick if you just really lightly press it. We're gonna go with that. That's a groove. Holding note repeat. For all of my beginners out there that can't do drums, note repeat is your friend. Don't be afraid to be on the grid. You don't have to do a J Dilla swing if you don't want to. Here we go. We're going to overdub the next time this loops around by engaging sequence record. We see a red bar now at the top, meaning anything that we record now during this sequence record will be registered on this sequence. And if we press sequence record again, we can just go back to playing again. But we're doing it on the grid. We're on the grid. Now, mind you, before we continue, let's talk about it a little bit more, shall we? Because we have a couple other buttons here that can really change the outcome of our playback. And that's really this offset button here. See that? Change the entire feel of your note repeat with that second button there. So still at a level 2. We're going to go back to the beginning here. Slightly beginner, but velocity based and remembering offset based. Amigos! Here we go. Now notice, some of these kicks are louder than the others. Now, once again, if we wanted to play with the offset feature, which is triggered up here on this middle button, notice it goes from tune to play. And in play mode on this little button here, this middle button I should say, we can trigger the offset. So let's select the sample that we want to engage, and let's start playing with it. Now that's kind of fire. See, went from this, very straight, to something like this. It almost has like a Caribbean feel now, or like an island feel now. Okay, so that's level 2. Level 3. How have you not used note repeat like this? Well, most people think about note repeat and they only think about drums. But what if you start thinking about other instruments, right? What do I mean by that? Well, let's see. Not that. Okay. I think I found my sound that I want to flip. This is level 3, using note repeat. Now this time, I'm not just going to stay in the percussion. Not only am I going to use note repeat, engaging it on a sample, which is something maybe some of you have done, but not all of you have done. By the way, when we get to this last way, I'm willing to bet the level 4 way of using note repeat, I'm willing to bet no one, well, I'm going to say 99% of MPC users do not use the level 4 version, advanced version of note repeat. But right now, like I said, we're in note repeat. And we're not doing note repeat on kicks or snares or percussions or hats or any congo, whatever you want to call it. We are going into pad 10, which is a sample. But we're not just going to stay on the 8th notes. we're going to use all of our hands here. And by all of our hands, I mean all of our fingers. And we're going to do a stretch note repeat between our thumb and our middle finger. And we're going to use our other hand to jump between here. So that's the idea. Let's see. Here we go. Remember, we press sequence record. We're going to press play. We're going to be holding shift, pardon me, note repeat and pad 10. It's a lot going on. This is, see, like I said, this is a little bit more intermediate here. Damn near advanced. This is level 3, note repeat. Here we go. Sequence record, engage, pressing play. Fire. It sounds like something's about to happen. It sounds like that's like a really nice intro there. Moving on. Let's say it dropped. Let's say the beat dropped, right? In the next sequence. So how do we make the beat drop in the next sequence? Well, we can press sequence mode and we can hold shift, right? And we can press the erase button. I need some coffee. Because underneath the erase button, we're actually copying. Copy that. Holding shift, pressing the erase button, we are copying this first sequence to the second sequence. Now pad 2 is going to represent our second sequence. However, that trigger, that sample trigger that we were doing earlier, we want that to represent the intro, which means we need to delete that. So if we hold shift and if we press step edit, we can go ahead and delete that on sequence 2. Mind you, the GUI says sequence 2, graphical user interface. We say GUI because it's easier. So let's delete all of the triggering for the sample on pad 10. We're not going to go through every step. Beginners, I go through this every video, but we're going to do it until the whole world knows. Instead of deleting every step, one by one, erase, 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 instead of doing all of that, all we're going to do is just hold erase, and we're going to press pad 10. Because that's going to erase all events for pad A10. Okay? Because there's a lot of those events that were triggered because of the note repeat. So to do that, you can waste your time if you want to, or you can delete them all. Now we're back to square one. We have our drums for our verse or our drop. Mind you, we could probably use some heavy percussion. But I don't mind this key, to be honest. I'm going to trigger one of these at the top. 1, 2, sequence record. We do have record quantize on. I don't mind that that's on today because we're using note repeat. We are on the grid. So we got that triggered. Now, level 4, note repeat. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is one of my favorite ways to use note repeat. So let's see here. We're not going to use that. We're not going to use that. So we're going to erase, hold erase, and we're going to erase the pads that we're not using. We're not using pad 13. We're not using pad 14. We're not using pad 15. Well, we are using those pads, but we're not using the samples that were stored there. So let's load a sample on those pads. How do we load a sample on pads that are empty? We select the pad that we want to load a sample on. We hit sample select. I want to put in there what? What do I want to put in there? I want to put in there a melodic. Which melodic do I want to put in there? I want to put in there a string. Coming all the way down here to strings. Kind of like the staccato. We're going to load up a staccato string there, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to pad 14. I'm also going to load up a... I like that pluck. We're going to load up that pluck as well. And then a more legato line. Legato is long. It's Italiano for you schmucks out there that want me to lower my vocabulary on my tutorials. Sorry guys, I'm not really that upset. All right, here we go. Let's play it back. Here we go. So we got this. But damn, why are you loading strings on this? First off, this notice and this notice, we got a problem there, right? We need to change the semitones of this note to get to this key. How do we get a sample to match this key on the MPC sample? We use our ears, ladies and gentlemen. Press the sample. We're on the tune button. How did I get to tune? Look at your middle function button here. There's a button here that says tune. We press the tune button. Boom. When we're in the tune button, we can tune the sound using the semitone or the fine tuner. I like to use the semitone. We're trying to get to here. It's not going to tell us what key that's in like other MPCs. So we have to use our ears. Now if we press this, right, we know that that is in a different key. We know it. We can hear it. You should be able to hear that. And we know that that is a different note as well. So we just start turning it. Turning the semitone. You hear how that's more lined in terms of the sound? You know, you shouldn't be on an MPC if you haven't done the basics of music. And this has been a conversation that I've been having for a long time. We have to be able to hear music before we can sample music. You have to be able to listen to music before you go crate digging and start taking from music, right? You have to be able to hear what I just did there. We matched the keys with our ear. There were no instruments used, there were no pitch devices, there were no lights or letters to line us up, nothing. Learn that, okay? Learn that. So now that we've gotten over our music theory lesson for the day, which is really just learning music by ear, we're going to move on to the final technique of today's show for the MPC show. By the way, if you've learned anything today, this would be a good time to remind you to subscribe. And not only that, also remind you, hey, I got a Patreon. If you want some lessons on this stuff one-on-one, I can teach you this individually. Right now I'm working with a student who is a really amazing talent on the horn, you know, multiple instruments, but also learning the MPC, and an also incredible guitarist. Plays a lot of instruments, in fact, but you know, the MPC is this gentleman's new journey. And there's so much to master here, there's so much technique, there's so much to learn. This is literally a whole lesson on one button. But even within this one button note repeat here, we have spanned across the entire MPC using multiple functions. So there's a lot to learn. Final technique, here we go. Have you guessed what we're going to do yet? Well, of course. We're going to put note repeat on the string. But there's one more layer. not only are we going to use note repeat, we're going to use 16 level, which is going to turn these 16 pads into damn near a whole orchestra. And I don't know why I couldn't say whole there. So let's find what notes work first. Because just like we used our ear to turn it, I moved a little fast there. Let's go back. We selected the sample, and then we hit 16 levels. And just like we used our ears to turn the semitone to find the key, we have to use our ears now to find all of our available notes here, because it's not going to tell us. Kind of like these. We got 16, 11, 7, 4, 2, 9. Kind of all those are there too. And I'm calling these pads out because I'm mapping them in my head. I need to see it in my head before I play it. It's kind of like a musician thing. So on your melodic, 4 is always going to be your root note based on where the instrument or the melodic is tuned to, the sample is tuned to. So let's get playback. And let's think about note repeat now that we understand what notes we can use. So now that we have 16 level, like I said, watch this, just watch this. It's a little fast. And once again, velocity plays a huge role in this because we can barely tap it. Can you hear that? And we can keep it simple, man. We can keep it real simple here. Right? So that's one. What about this one? We might have to tune it, right? And by that one, I mean, let's hit 16 level again. We know it's on 16 level because it's purple. We know we're on sample mode because I wanted to get here. We got to tune this. Remember, this is 11, so if we tune this to 11 as well, we should be in a similar key. Now we got 16 levels selected. Yeah, it's still. I'm gonna do that. So here we go. We created the whole beat using Ultra Beat, but using it in ways that you might not traditionally use it. So now we have a legato line, right? Remember, hit 16 levels again to get back to your samples. Once again, we're gonna take that, let's take a lower tone. I based the tuning off of these pads as well. So now we pretty much got everything in the same key, minus these other pads, which are probably doing something crazy. We don't really need them. We can potentially just go ahead and erase them. We don't need that. We don't need that. It's pretty much the same thing that we were using over there. So now we got this legato string here. How can we use that with note repeat and 16 level? Let's listen. Interesting, huh? Trying to think how I want to do this. Mixing it down a little bit, a little loud for me. What about a triplet? If we hold shift and if we hit note repeat, pardon me, if we hold shift and if we hold note repeat, we can access our triplets. Whoops. Did a little bit too much there. So there, boom. Interesting. What did I just do? I warped this. Okay, so you hear how that's eighth, right? Now that's triplets here. Might actually work. So once again, to change it from eighth notes to triplets of eighth notes, you're going to hold the note repeat button and then you're going to hit, pardon me, you're going to hold note repeat, yes, and then you're going to hit the shift button. I've noticed that sometimes you're getting different functions out of that. And then you have your access. You know what it's on based on what's highlighted, right? We can see clearly eighth note triplets is highlighted there. So well, we're going to try that. We're going to run this. So do that. Once again, 16 level on the bass. Pitch warp enabled. Tune warp unavailable. I've never seen that. Look at that. I wanted to do a tune warp on this bass here. Pitch warp enabled tune warp. It's not letting me do a 16 level tune. That's crazy. Maybe I've maxed out the RAM and it's not letting me go into 16 level on this to really make it dance. Which, to be honest, I need more bass in this. I could just do that. You know what else? For the first time on this song, we're going to turn the quantize off. How do you turn the quantize off? Hit sequence mode up here, hit this button right here, quantize is off, and now we can record. Very Notorious B.I.G. R.I.P. Something about that I didn't like. Do it again. You know what it is? It's that string that's doubled at the top. Kind of don't like it. Which is here, sample right there. Let's go back and redo that. So we're going to go into step edit. We're going to redo these strings by selecting the pad. We can hold the erase button and hit the pad again to erase all of that. Let's nail these strings one more time. Still giving me 16 levels on the strings though, you see that? That's how we're gonna do it. Here we go. Wait, 16 level again. 1, 2, 3, and. Except I wanted to get my other note in there. You know what? We're gonna double this sequence. How do you double this sequence? Why do I want to double this sequence? I want to double this sequence because I want more bars to record the string part that I want. So if I hold shift and if I hit pad 3, you double the sequence. That's how to double the sequence on the MPC sample. Please follow and subscribe for more. Let's do it, shall we? We have our 16 level selected. Record, here we go. 3, and. Interesting. That's not what I did. You saw me. Let's do that again. I hit it there. and gentlemen, where did we start? Right here, like. And that is 4 ways to use note repeat on the MPC sample. We covered velocity, we covered the basics with hi-hats and kicks, we covered pitch and tuning and semitone, we even did some triplet, and we created a whole string part. Thank you so much. Please subscribe for more. Drop a comment, tell me more, tell me what you need, tell me what you want to explore, tell me what you want to work on. I'll do it for you. Check out these tutorials up here if you want to watch some more. Otherwise, I got some music videos here for you. I hope you like my camera work too. Subscribe. See you soon. Thank you so much. Peace and love. Use that note repeat. Don't sleep on that button. More buttons soon.